Hey everybody, I'm Adrian Bustamante and welcome back to Food Deconstructed. This week we're deconstructing one of America's favorite foods, the cheeseburger. This recipe is going along with all the other recipes we've done so far for cheeseburgers in regards to it just being a little bit on the crazy side. So I'm hoping it tastes better than the cheeseburger cocktail though. So let's see how this goes. The first thing we're going to do is start off with about 3 cups of sushi rice. Place this in the bowl here. Now this is cooked just a little bit on the warm side, so that's why I'm using a spoon instead of my hands. We're going to add some sesame seeds to it, as well as some vinegar, and about a tablespoon of ketchup. And we're just going to mix this all together. Now what we're doing is just creating a sticky rice. Now this will come in handy for us a little bit later when we roll our sushi roll. Just want to mix it up so you get all those ingredients all over the rice. Now you should see that it's a little bit sticky. You'll notice that you can kind of ball something up real quickly like that, and you're good. So once that's ready, you can put that aside. And we're going to get started on our flank steak. Now our flank steak is going to be something else that we're going to add to the inside of our sushi roll. Now we're going to start up this. While that pan's heating up a little bit, I'm just going to check my flank steak and kind of cut off any excess fat that's around the edges. I want to try and get as much lean meat as possible. I mean, the fat is going to add a little bit of flavor, but I just want to make sure that I don't get too much fat in the pan. Should be fine. And you can leave as much fat on as you want. Like I said, I just want to kind of trim off a little bit of the excess. We'll still get a little bit of flavor in there as well. All right, now I'm going to put one of these pan side down. Before I do that, I'm going to take some of my garlic here. I'm going to cut it in half and rub it along one side of the flank steak. What it's going to do is kind of add a little bit of flavor to it while it's cooking. All right. Now what you can also do at home is if you want to add some garlic powder to it, you can do that, or whatever seasonings you want in general. I'm also going to put a little bit of salt and pepper on one side of it too. But again, if you have a certain rub that you want to use at home, but again, we're going to kind of stick to a cheeseburger theme, so I don't want to add too many ingredients to this, but again, you can do whatever you want at home. I'm going to kind of put a little bit of salt liberally over the top of this. Again, this is the side that's going to go down first. Make sure it is seasoned a little bit. Now this looks to be just a little bit big for my pan, so I'm just going to cut the end off. I'll cook this on its own. I'll put this side down first. Now, of course, you hear the sizzle right away. We'll let it cook on this side probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes or so. I'll check it as it goes to make sure it's not burning. Once it's done, I'll season this side as well and then give it a good flip. Now, what I'm also keeping an eye on is my oil. Now, I've gotten this oil up to about 350 degrees, and what we're going to be using that for to make some homemade French fries. What you've done is taken a regular potato and just sliced it up and made little French fries sized bites. Now this as well is going to go inside of our sushi roll. All right, so this is going to continue to cook. I'm just going to throw a little butter in there right now. Season the outside of the steaks. I'm probably going to flip it one more time as these are still pretty rare. And if you don't feel like using your finger to rub it all on the steak, you can always use a spoon, but the side's not really that hot, so it's not going to burn anything. All right, so it looks like our oil is just about ready. So I'm going to take my potatoes and we're going to make some French fries. Now again, when you're doing this at home, be very careful. This oil is very hot. You don't want to throw these potatoes in there right away, like just clump them together and throw them in. You get splashback, all of a sudden you're dealing with burns, catch fires, start fires. So just gonna do it nice and easy. Not in any rush. Now, once these are in there, you'll notice they'll start bubbling right away. And you're just gonna kind of keep an eye on them until they get a nice golden brown to them. Now, since this is fresh oil, it may take a little bit longer to kind of get that golden brown to it, but all right, that's going. Now my steak, or my flank steak, is just about done. I'm just gonna kind of give it a little extra seasoning with some garlic powder. Kind of double check it here. That side looks good. That side looks good. That's gonna be good. All right. Now this flank steak is just about done, so I'm gonna turn down the heat to completely off. Let it kind of sit for a minute. We let those fry. Next up, we're gonna get some seaweed. Now, with the seaweed, what we're gonna do is we're actually gonna toast these, and of course, this is gonna be our base for our sushi rolls. So now that my flank steak is done, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this off and slice it up. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna slice the flank steak and kind of do some thin slices because obviously this is going inside a sushi roll, so you don't want big, thick pieces in there, otherwise it's not gonna roll as easy. So, there's one. Oh yeah, that's good. Now if you need to cut them smaller, you'll kind of gauge it as soon as you start rolling, but I'm just gonna try and just cut them into long strips like this, thin enough so they'll be easy to roll. Again, you want to make sure you keep an eye on your French fries cooking as well. Make sure they don't burn. Now you can kind of see they're slowly starting to get a little brown, but they're not quite there yet. So I'm gonna pop it back in. Kind of dig around a little bit, make sure there's none burning. We should be good. Get a couple more minutes in there. While it's doing that, I'm just gonna continue to cut my flank steak. All right, so I'm taking my last bit of fries out. I've put it on some paper towel with a plate to kind of let the oil drip out of them. And we'll bring those back here in a second. But we're pretty much ready to roll. What I'm gonna do first though is I'm gonna transfer this steak onto a plate and clean this surface because this is where I'm gonna be rolling my sushi at. And right now it's not really ready for that. For me, this is a perfectly cooked piece of meat. It's just, you can see a little bit of pinkness in the middle, so it's kind of a medium rare type thing, but obviously you can cook your meat to your liking. If you like it a little more well done, please, by all means, do it that way. All right, so that's all clean. Now we're gonna bring in our sushi mat and lay it out flat. Now I've covered it in plastic wrap so I can use it multiple times, so we're not just using it once and then we're done. This way we can make multiple rolls for a large group. Now what I'm also gonna do is just turn my heat back on just for a little bit, a low heat. I'm gonna take my seaweed, I'm just gonna place it over the top here. Just keep an eye on it. What I'm doing is I'm just gonna keep it a little toast. Now if you at home maybe have done this with tortillas, or some of you may have done it with bread, but my family used to always do this really, really nice and easy to kind of put a little bit of a heat to some tortillas, so it's very similar. So we'll do one there, and then we'll do another one to get it ready. You don't want to lay it on there too long, otherwise it'll burn. It's very thin and almost paper-like. That should be good. Now we're gonna bring our rice back in. Now one thing I didn't really touch on earlier, some of you guys might have wondered, is why did you put ketchup in the rice? Well, for this recipe, we're obviously deconstructing a cheeseburger, and most people like to put a little bit of ketchup on their cheeseburger, so that's why we placed it inside the rice. So you're gonna take your seaweed, place it on the mat, then take your rice and do a really thin layer of rice along the edge. Now, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place the rice on this piece of seaweed, and this is when I'll start to use my hand a little bit to make sure that I kind of get a nice even layer the best I can. I dip my hand in a little bowl of water here so it doesn't stick as much. I'm gonna kind of flatten it out the best I can. I'll definitely need a little more rice. And for some of you at home that are new to this, like myself, just take your time, there's no rush. The slower you go and the more careful you are, the better this will turn out. So you're gonna do is make an even layer, and then from there, we're gonna start adding our other pieces, our flank steak, our French fries, some onions, of course some cheese, because what's a cheeseburger without some cheese? So now that's there, we're gonna start adding our pieces now. So we'll take some flank steak, run it in there. We're just gonna go boom, boom. Then we're gonna take some onion. Now we're gonna use this as a little bit of texture. You can grill these if you like, but we figure a little sweet onion sliced up like this would be a good contrast to the rest of this dish. There we go. Of course, French fry. Let's try and find one of our longer pieces and thinner pieces. Boom, boom. And some cheese. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a little bit of a slice of this cheese and cut it in about a 1.5 inch strip. It's roughly about good. And boom. Now we get to rolling. All right. So once you have seen all these pieces of the puzzle, what we're gonna do is we're gonna bring them all towards you now. Again. So using the mat, bringing the mat towards you, you're gonna kind of give it a little bit of roll, making sure obviously you're not rolling the mat into your sushi roll. So once that kind of gets a little bit, oh, boom. You're gonna kind of keep it as tight as possible, so you're gonna put a little bit of pressure on there. Pulling it away. Remember, slow and steady will definitely win this race. So you apply a little pressure in there. Let's take this back a little bit, and voila, you got a nice rolled piece of sushi, or the best I can do anyway. So put this aside. We'll give it a little slice down the middle to kind of give you an idea of what this is looking like inside. Perfect. So there we go. You can see inside you have the seaweed, then the rice. You can see the pieces of flank steak along with the cheese and a little bit of onion and the French fry, of course. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take some slices of these right now, just like you normally would see at a sushi restaurant. You can go as big or as small as you like, but I like my rolls to be a little bit bigger. So there's one. I'll just go down the line and keep cutting, and then I'll keep making more of these, plate them. We'll see how this bad boy tastes. Well, all of our sushi is cut up into little rolls here, so it's time for plating. Just gonna go down the middle, get a little sushi boat. We'll save these for another plate. Now, it's time to taste this bad boy. I'm kind of interested. I love sushi, I love cheeseburgers. Let's hope this is a marriage made in heaven, huh? I also have some barbecue sauce that we whipped up a little bit earlier, so I'm gonna do a little dipping here. So I'm not gonna mess with my plate. I'm gonna start here. All right, let's see how this goes. That's definitely a sushi roll. It doesn't really remind me too much of a cheeseburger as much as I would like it, but I'm pretty happy with the sushi roll that I made. I'm gonna try it. I think I almost like it better without the barbecue sauce. It doesn't really add that much to it for me in regards to enhancing the cheeseburger flavor. I would probably go without and maybe think about coming up with a different type of sauce that would equal out maybe cheeseburger-esque, I guess. But overall, I really like this. I think it's a good sushi roll. Sadly, doesn't remind me too much of a cheeseburger, but hey, that's the fun in it, right? So stay tuned for our next recipe, cheeseburger souffle.